Well, good morning again. This is the second Sunday of Easter on the liturgical calendar. It was the week, according to the Gospels, after the resurrection. Nevertheless, it was a week of turmoil. The disciples had witnessed the death of their leader, perhaps of their Messiah, but how could they be sure of that now? He had suffered what was then not only a cruel death, but one meant to humiliate political dissidents. The followers were all traumatized. Peter and John were, at first, bewildered, because they had found the linen winding sheets from the body, but no body. As they began to believe, the others remained skeptical. Thomas was so doubtful that he staunchly continued to refuse to believe the testimony of the other 10, who had finally been convinced by the appearance of Jesus. None of them, not one, paid any heed to the women. Actually, I don't think this was gender bias. Not this time. Not even in their society. I think they were all so distraught they could not focus on any comments because their minds were racing from one minute to the next. Despondent, hopeful, depressed, incredulous, definitely confused. So let's look at those women. How important were women to the Easter story? We know from Scripture that the only recorded words Jesus said as he walked to his crucifixion were to women. Luke 23. Matthew, on the other hand, tells us that many women watched from afar. There were a minimum of 3 Marys at the crucifixion. Mary, the mother of Jesus, Mary, the aunt of Jesus, and Mary Magdalene, his best friend and confidant. John 19. With some of his last words, according to John, Jesus provided for his mother by asking John's assistants to look after her, and John stated that indeed she lived in his house forever afterwards. The first people to find the stone rolled away and the body gone were those women, Luke and Mark. The Gospel of Luke goes on to say that the men who were the followers of Jesus did not believe them when they told them what they had found. Matthew, Mark, and Luke all report that the angels at the tomb who said Jesus had risen were seen by those same women, but not by the men. And last but not least, the first person Jesus appeared before and talked to after the resurrection was Mary Magdalene, again according to John. So yes, women were important to Jesus. Not more important than men, but certainly equally important. And yes, the message of Easter, of love beyond measure, of rebirth and of renewal are important too. So let me wrap up with the joyful spirit of rebirth and spring. That's what those April showers are all about this morning. The fragrance of the flower of conscious love in action spreads for the benefit of many from its own interior root. Saint Teresa of Avila said that it is a fragrance that lasts, not passing quickly, but having great effect. Saint Teresa, who perfected the idea of the soul's journey according to the life of a garden, added that the fragrance of these flowers and works produced and flowering from the tree of such fervent love lasts much longer. I believe she meant that the tree is God's love, and that we are all attached to it in some way, and we have roles to produce and share the gifts from it. Hildegard of Bingen used a similar analogy. She wrote that the sap in a tree, like the maple sap running right now, is like the spiritual energy in our bodies. By the sap, the tree grows green and produces flowers and fruit. The fruit provides nourishment to others. But Hildegard added that in human terms, by providing flowers and fruits and continuing to learn and grow in our good deeds, we become greater than trees in that our actions are preserved in true faith for the rewards of eternal blessedness after that person's end. These women and others made a difference. They contributed much to reset the course of the world towards love in action. Their whole lives, like Elizabeth Fry and Catherine Doherty, who worked in Canada for racial justice before founding Friendship House in Harlem, like Dorothy Day, who founded the Catholic Worker magazine and Houses of Mercy in the States for social justice for workers, and went to jail for nonviolent protests. And of course, Mother Teresa. These lives were devoted to the service of others. Their lives were devoted to the relief of poverty. And poverty is a state that women have known and still know well. We've been focusing on love and action throughout Lent. And now we can focus on the true message of love Jesus demonstrated at Easter. Let us stay in touch with Jesus and his message of love. It is the Easter message of true hope and truth, of peace and freedom. Let us all define goodness and truth, the emblem of love in action. Let us work together, both men and women, to promote this wave of spring rebirth, and thank God for all you men who support us and work with us. I'd like to close with the words of Mother Teresa. The fruit of silence is prayer. The fruit of prayer is faith. The fruit of faith is love. The fruit of love is service. And the fruit of service is peace. This is the beauty of our Catholic tradition and the strength of its foundation. God bless you all.